I am so excited. Tonight is going to be amazing because we're going to be going over how to launch your inner celebrity and how to reach millions with your message. This became a very important topic to me this year. This was my entire focus is, last couple of years I've been in build mode and I've been putting all my pieces together and helping others to do that too, moving everybody online effectively and building their websites. But now, once you get your website built and once you get your elements in place in that, it's the perfect time to be thinking, how are you going to reach more people with your message? Because it's time that we all kind of started to launch our inner celebrity and move to that next level. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight is how I reached 20 million people. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you about a really cool thing that happened to me. Not only did I have like two amazing calls today with new clients that have just come on board, but I had another awesome call that I'm going to tell you about this morning. And it's just kind of all part of the reaching millions with your message and starting to play the bigger game. So when you release your inner celebrity, that's when you can play the game that you were born to play. And I don't believe you'd be here watching this if you weren't kind of ready to play that bigger game, because each and every one of us, I believe, has come down here, planet, whatever you want to call it, with a message. And it's part of our DNA, it's part of our destiny and our purpose to get that message out, whatever that message is, or to help other people with the skill that we have. And so it's incredibly important that you tap into kind of that inner celebrity in order to be able to do that. And then before you can tap into your inner celebrity, there's a step, and many people haven't really grasped this step yet. And that's why I want to bring it up today, because it is the why of what you do, what you do. And the clients, I just love this because the clients I've been getting lately are so clear on their why. But they just aren't able to tap into the audience that they need to make the impact that they want. And so it's really important that you know your why. And the reason is successful people know their why, because you will find that if your why is big enough, the how will come. And that's a big relief, really, because you don't have to be the one kind of solving all the pieces all at once. All you need to do is slightly step into your why and, into your inner, and grasp onto that inner celebrity and be ready for the next step. And so I'll never forget that when I really started to tap into my why. And that was when it was, I was married and we started to now have children. And I had a successful software company and everything was going great, but everything changed once the kids were born and my why changed. And therefore, the business model that I had created at that time stopped working. And when the kids were born, Dave and I, my husband, you can see him in that picture there. He's he and I have worked now together side by side for the last 21 years. And when the kids were born, we both moved the office home. And there's been no greater experience and no greater blessing than when you have a choice of if you want to raise your children and work from the home and become financially viable. It is one of the greatest gifts, and they, of course, are one of the greatest accomplishments that I have had. And so this became my why, which was family and freedom. Those were the two things that I wanted to be sure that the new model that I was creating accomplished that. And of course, after discovering internet marketing and realizing the kind of the power that it had to reach like 20 million people like I have this year, and I expect to reach more next year. Um, the power that it has when you know how to tap into that power properly. And so that has been what my focus became. And the beautiful part about that is once I shifted my energies to the family, my why, and the freedom that I wanted, the how started to come because I never could have come up with the how, quite frankly, myself. It was too big for me to handle or to come up with that kind of scope. Because if you've ever heard the saying, you can get as far as you can get based on the knowledge that you have, that's what starts to happen. And so when you open up the channels for different people to come into your life and the help that you need, you start to be able to shift to a new position in space that allows you to receive things that you couldn't see before. And like I say, when I decided to make that shift, it was incredible because an email literally came to my door or to my inbox, and that email could have been there 100 times prior to that and for years before, but I never saw it. It's kind of like, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. Well, I saw this email, and that is when I saw that there was this thing called internet marketing, and there was this show going on, and I actually decided to go and attend a live seminar, and it changed everything. That's when I knew what I wanted to do, because I had been in the technology field since 1985. I was a software developer in 1994 when the internet was born. I was developing websites, and I was doing SEO, and I was doing it for very large corporations. And then, like I say, when I realized we could use it as a marketing mechanism, that changed everything, and my whole life changed, including moving from Toronto, Canada, down to where I am now in Los Angeles, California. And so you can see my son up there, who is 16 years old, and his name is Caleb. And then my daughter's in the middle, and that's Celeste, and she's 17 years old. And then my other daughter is there in the bottom corner there, and her name's Kennedy, and she is 18 years old. And you might be thinking to yourself, wow, you had kids really close together. And you would be correct, because my kids were born exactly a year apart in the same month, and that's not a formula I'm going to be repeating. But the fascinating part, and I didn't quite realize it actually until my daughter turned 12, that they're watching your every move. You are the role model. And so I had an event called the Dreams to Reality Success Summit. And it was held in Hollywood, California, and it was a 12-speaker event, and everybody came, and it was awesome. And of course, my daughter was there at the age of 12, and they were, with me, helping me, watching the whole deal. And she says to me at the end of that show, I know what I want to be now. I want to be an entrepreneur like you. I want to start my own business. And so we actually invested in a mentor at that time for her from the show, somebody that she wanted to get involved with. And from the age of 12, she has been running her own businesses. And so what was funny, though, is after that summer, when it was time to go back to school, it opened up a kind of a problem, and yet it provided us with a solution that, again, as you move through your journey, I could not have predicted or seen. And so she says then that she doesn't want to go back to school. She's done. She's going to be an entrepreneur. She was making money. She was very happy. And that's what she was going to do. And so we had a problem in that you can't do that. Your children have to go to school. And so I sat down, and sure enough, within minutes was a commercial, and it said, enroll your children in internet school. Exact same curriculum, same state exams, board exams. They go to college, university, they can do whatever they want. Well, there was our solution, and that's kind of marketing. A problem is presented to you, and you have to solve it, and vice versa. You are a solution to somebody else. And so it was an interesting mechanism to see because we solved it so quickly. And the beautiful part is it created a lifestyle that I never even thought of. Because what happened was once my daughter didn't want to go to school, and then my son says, well, I'm not going to school either. And we did pull them home, pulled all three of our kids home. That gave us the freedom part of the why. All of a sudden, we were able to travel around the world. I was able to take them with me no matter where I was speaking or where I was going. And that created the absolute freedom part that even I couldn't have predicted. And so here's where it all lies now. You know, my daughter, she graduated at 16 and she's a full-time entrepreneur. And that would have been one of our journeys to Australia where we would spend a month down there. And then my son, he's a full-time actor, and that's what he's doing. He also graduated at the age of 16 from high school and is done and is ready to take on his journey and deliver his message. And then Kennedy, who is now 18, she graduated at the age of 16 and is a full-time model. And what I absolutely love about this is, you know, when you create and you start to live your why, you end up creating messengers. And this is really what I have accomplished up to this point. Now it's time to take a look at yourself. And if you have your pen and your pad, just write it down. You know, do you have a message the world needs to know? And if you do, what is it? You know, write that down, because one of the things you're going to have to learn is how to succinctly say that, how to tell other people what your message is in like one line. You know, I help people boom so they can boom. That type of scenario. And that way, when you meet somebody, you don't overwhelm them. And you're able to say, is that something you need? Can I help you with that? Or even better, you know specifically who you're talking to. And so step one is making sure that you know your message and you have one. The next element that you got to take a look at is what kind of impact do you want to make with your message? Because not everybody maybe wants to have a global impact. I know I do. I want my impact to absolutely affect the entire planet. I know, you know, Fantastic Frank, who's out there, he has a message that he wants millions to reach. And he has an incredible message, you know, that we've crafted now, you know, that really deals with turning your disability to an ability. And when you meet Frank and start to know him, you'll see exactly why that's such an important message for him. Because of what happened to him as part of his journey. And I'm sure each of you have had something occur as part of your journey that is now determining how big an impact do you want to make with your message. And what will happen here is this will grow for you, which means maybe you don't see a global impact right now for yourself, but that's okay, because as you start to get more confident and move through your journey and it starts to get crafted more tightly and you start to really see the role that you're meant to play, then you're going to start to see the impact that you're meant to have in this world. And I know if you're listening to this, that there's no doubt in my mind that the impact that you have is going to be huge. And then what type of legacy do you want to leave? Like part of my legacy, for example, is going to be the children. They're going to be the next generation that assists in continuing to move the planet forward in a positive direction. But then I also have some personal elements of a legacy that I also want to leave. And I'm sure each of you do. Some people may want to, you know, help with poverty, some with education, some with, you know, abolishing drugs, some with improving, whatever with the elderly. Every single one of us, natural healing has some sort of legacy and an imprint that we want to leave. And it's important that you start to craft that too, because when you put your your big vision out there, and you've got your piece of paper in front of you, and you're saying, okay, my goal is to leave this legacy, and here's my message, and here's the impact I want to make, and here's the why I'm doing it. What starts to happen is it leads to kind of the ability to establish what your mission is. And your mission is the culmination of all of those things: your why, your message, the impact, and the legacy. And the reason you need to know all of these pieces is because that's what's going to keep you going despite the obstacles you encounter, which you will encounter, despite what, kind of the universe throws at you, especially, one of the greatest challenges that this universe will throw at you, it deals with money. You don't have enough to do what you want to do, and then you need the money to make the impact and all of these things. It becomes this circular motion. The only one that can break you out of that is you. You're the one that's going to have to kind of say no to reality and say, this isn't real. I'm creating my own reality, and I'm pushing through by establishing what my mission is, and the rest will start to come into play. Because the thing you have to remember at all times is what you focus on is what you create. And so if you're sitting there ever focusing on, oh God, I don't have the money to do this, I can't do this, whatever, right? That's what's going to be in front of you all the time. And that's the beauty of having your mission and your big purpose and your vision and all of these things in front of you all the time, is it helps you to move past the obstacles, past the fear, past other people telling you that you can't do it, you're crazy, this is ridiculous, why don't you just, kind of do what you were doing before. And I know you have all heard messages like this. I know I have from very young age. I can recall it starting for me at the age of 3. And then your own mind chatter. You're going to need these elements and the kind of the purpose-driven element to get you past all of those barriers, and including your own kind of mind chatter. And so my mission at this point in time is to get you and your message known. And the reason that has become such a big kind of purpose for me is I achieved it this year now. I achieved one of my greatest missions that I had, and that was to impact millions of people. And when I hit 20 million people, I knew then it was part of my next step to make sure all the other messengers out there, all the other people that needed to make their positive impact in the world, could be heard and found and discovered and utilized properly to serve in the way that they were meant to. Because if you're not, and you kind of lead this quiet life of wantingness, then we need your help. Every single one of us needs your help, and we need you to be there, and we need you to help us on this journey to counteract everything that's going on. And we know what that is. If you've turned on the news, if you've at any moment of time or had even somebody tell you what's going on in the world, you're well aware of the fact that we are the ones. We're the messengers, we're the entrepreneurs, we're the business owners, we're the thinkers that are going to change what's going on right now. And so that's why it's important for me to help you reach millions with your message. And at the same time, you have to make the money too. And the reason is you can't usually afford, you can't be putting schools in Africa. You can't be helping and donating your time and doing whatever it is that your bigger mission is if you're not financially stable yourself. It's a very difficult life. And so it's important that you understand all of the elements, and also it's important for you to know that it's okay to make a lot of money. Especially if you're in the healing, or you're in the naturopath, or you're in the intuitive fields, anything like that. A lot of people feel that they have such a high purpose, which you do, that they forget that it's okay to make money utilizing this higher purpose. And in fact, the more money you have, the more you can give, which is in your nature anyway. And so you never have to worry about attracting oodles of it, because you will know how to distribute it properly in your own plight and in the plight and the assistance of others. So we're going to be going through how to play a bigger game, how to craft your message, how to be prepared, how to reach millions, and then how to launch your vision. So this is what we're going to be going through. So the play a bigger game. And I want you to write down kind of as you're sitting there, and this is kind of a little mantra to yourself and a little affirmation. And if you have to put it on a Post-it note and put it in front of your desk or wherever it is that you work every day, I want you to do that as a secondary action. And that is, you're going to write down and you're going to say, I'm ready to play a bigger game. Because it takes that acknowledgement and that commitment from yourself to say that. And in order to really acknowledge that you're ready and you're going to step up, because it takes, putting on the big girl and the big boy panties. And I've been doing a lot of that this year, really, stepping miles out of my comfort zone. And what I realized this year, compared to almost the last 3 years for myself, is as I sat in my comfort zone for the last 3 years, I was growing and things were happening, but not at the rate as they did this past year. Because when this kind of, year started, I said, holy mackerel, I've gotten complacent. I'm not serving my biggest purpose. I'm helping people, but not enough. And it was time for me to step up and play the bigger game. And I remember that same feeling when I originally got into internet marketing, I was absolutely terrified. And that happened again at the beginning of this year. It happened when I got into internet marketing because I left my software company where I had like $1 million contracts with banks, governments, lottery corporations, and Fortune 100 companies. And I left because that model was not working anymore. And my husband and I really needed to find something that was closer to our real purpose, our life mission, and was going to make the impact that it needed. And so we needed to seek that out. And that meant letting go of something that at that time was incredibly comfortable. And so here I'm going back to that 2006 moment. And so I liken it to being on a trapeze, because what's going to happen is you're going to let go of that one rung. And so I let go of my software company and I'm free falling, and it's terrifying. And I know some of you out there are probably in your free fall moment right now. And this is really where you have to kind of be exposed and know with certainty that you are going to be okay. And that other rung will appear, or the net will appear, or whatever it is going to appear. But you see, sometimes in order to kind of take that quantum leap or take that bigger step and play the bigger game, it's too far beyond our vision. We can't see the next piece, which is why the leap has to occur. And I know a lot of people have done that this year. I'm doing it even this year, where you're investing in programs that are outside of your comfort zone, but you know you need them to play the bigger game. And so you let go, and then you wait, and then that next rung will appear. And it appeared for me when, again, in came internet marketing. And not only was it way beyond what I could have imagined, because of the lifestyle and the fact that my family was able to come first, and then came freedom, and then came the ability to be financially secure around all of that. It's an incredible feeling. And of course, if you're out there right now between rungs, then just acknowledge that that's where you are and you're free falling, and let that rung come to you. Let yourself see it and let yourself grab it. And then the other thing that can occur, of course, is you're still holding on to the old rung. And so what happens is you swing forward, you don't let go, and you swing back. And your life feels like peaks and valleys, up and down and up and down. It's this roller coaster ride because you're going back and forth, holding on to this one rung as if it's security. And what's happening now, though, is that one rung has become an anchor, and it's severely inhibiting your forward motion. And then, so just acknowledge that you're holding on to the rung. And when you feel yourself swinging forward, when you see that opportunity that you need to take the next step, let go of the rung, and the next one will come. And then there's the other one, and the last but not least, where you're holding on to both rungs. You've got one in your hand and you're terrified to let go, and you've got the other one and you're holding it now. And so you're like on a cross, you're dangling, both arms are outstretched, and it's incredibly uncomfortable. Only you're not sure. Do you go back to the comfort? Do you go forward? Because the forward is scary. And that is the definition. That is really the thing about a bigger game, is it's definitely going to be scary. And I can also tell you, though, at the same time, it's going to be incredibly rewarding, exciting, and fulfilling. And that's why it's important as you move through that you let go and take that next step. So once you've done that, you're acknowledging that you're about to play that bigger game. The next thing you have to do is take a look at what your message is, the fundamentals. And the reason it's important to go back to this step is twofold. The first is you have to be able to coherently tell somebody what that message is and have them clearly understand it, because if they don't, you're going to spend a lot of time explaining yourself. And then the second part, and the second reason it's so important, is the mediums that you're going to be using to get your message out, which I'm going to be talking about in a minute in the How Do You Reach Your Millions. All of those have to have a finely crafted message, and you have to know who your target audience is. Because if you're saying the wrong thing or the right thing to the wrong person, they're not going to get it, and you're not going to make the impact that you wanted to. And you're going to be spending your time trying to perhaps convert somebody with your message that isn't meant for you to convert them. They're somebody else's person. And so it's important that you focus on who yours is. And then it's important that you niche this down. And by niche, I mean get very specific on who they are. And that doesn't preclude the fact that your message probably applies to maybe everyone on the planet and everyone needs you. But the issue is, if you speak in terms that are so generic, you can't be found and you can't be discovered by the exact people that are looking for you, because you won't be able to use their language and you won't be able to speak like they need you to. And you won't be able to resonate with them because your frequency won't be, kind of calibrated with theirs. It will be trying to be so broad spectrum that you can't attract them to you kind of, universally, as well as physically, which is, utilizing the methods of communication. Then this is why it's important, because if you don't know who they are, then you can't find them and you can't seek them out. And so when you know that, for example, if your target market is 45-year-old and up women, heart-centered, got a message and a purpose, and they want to get it out, that type of thing, and so you're going to find them in naturopath communities, or you're going to find them in women's groups, that type of thing. You have to know where to find them. And then, of course, then you can leverage one of the most amazing tools that has ever come to mankind, practically, as far as being able to research is concerned, and find information and find people to connect to and get your message out there, which is Google. And so once you know what they're searching for and saying, then you can take those keywords and you can take those phrases and you can start to implement them into your strategy and into what you're doing and saying. And then you know what magazines they're reading. So now then you can go to those magazines and find out what are those magazines writing about, because those magazines have a million times the budget that you do, and they're spending it to reach the target market that you're also going after. So they're going to have your keywords. They're going to have the issues and the pains that you need to be resolving. And then article directories, the same type of thing. People are out there writing and solving how-tos of your target audience, and find out what that is. And then forums. Now, forums are kind of areas where people congregate in a community. And in general, though, they're kind of talking about something, and they're usually complaining. And so the beautiful part about a forum is, in many cases, you can get your marketing materials, because you're going to see where the gaps are in the industry. What are they complaining about? Because then if you can solve what they're complaining about, you've got an exact target market sitting there, and you've got the marketing materials that you know how to say. And so it becomes this win-win scenario. Then you need to know what makes you you on your marketing message. What makes you unique? Because if you don't know, when somebody says, why would I pick you over? In my case, I mean, I develop websites. There's a trillion website developers out of there. I have to know what makes me unique. Or else I can't impress upon somebody in like a sentence, so that now they know why. Now they get it. Now they understand, why I am the fee I am, or why, whatever it is, or why you're the fee you are, or why you're the best solution for them over the next 30 other people that they will be able to find on Google and compare you to. And so it's important that you discover this. And so what is a unique selling proposition? A unique selling proposition is something that allows you to separate and sets you apart, both as an individual and as a business. And so an example is, for example, the M&M guys, right? That's a visual representation. That's like a logo element. But what makes them unique, and if somebody knows this, you're welcome to type this into the question bar, and maybe we can pick it up. Does anybody know what makes the M&M people unique? That's right. Very well done. It's the milk chocolate that melts in your mouth, not in your hands. Now, this became incredibly important, because if you think about, someone had a handful of M&Ms and someone had a handful of Smarties. Smarties are all over your hands, bleeding everywhere, red and yellow and brown, every color sitting there, right? And what happened is M&Ms saw the difference. And so they have blown Smarties out of the water. You barely even hear about them. M&M's is an empire with clothing and gadgets and toys and 6-story buildings in Paris and London and Las Vegas. I mean, they've become absolutely massive. They are not just a chocolate anymore. They have become the kind of the McDonald's concepts. I mean, McDonald's is all about real estate, but they leveraged it from selling a hamburger. And so another example is like Timex. I don't know if any of you remember what the unique selling proposition is of Timex. I'll give somebody a second to maybe write that in there, if anybody sees. I was just at an event on Monday and so thrilled because somebody actually came up with it. And so the unique selling proposition of Timex is it takes a licking and keeps on ticking. So their commercials were about you. They had the watch in the hand. They were bashing it, kicking it, driving over it, and they dropped it from like a 20-story building and it didn't break. It still worked. So you knew if you needed a watch that was reliable and practically indestructible, you were going to go buy a Timex. And so you need to have that same piece about you. And historically, everybody would say, oh, there's no way. I don't have the budget. There's no way I can, come up with that or be that unique. But that excuse is gone now, because the internet has made it a level playing field. You can compete with anybody on the planet now, and get organically ranked, providing you are feeding the right information, and it's consistent, and it's often, and it's dynamic, and all of these things. You have the same opportunities as every single billion-dollar budgeted company out there. You just have to know how to leverage it. And so the next step is you need to be prepared. Now, I remember when I got into internet marketing as a brand new field, I had done marketing and I had been on the internet already, but I had never put the two together in a way that now needed to occur in order for me to take my next level. So again, not only was it terrifying getting into internet marketing, because I walked away from my security, which was the software company, but I also started to invest like crazy. I started to pour money like I spent $100,000 in 6 months, in my very first 6 months. And in general, it was to constantly be moving as fast as I possibly could. I would learn how to do a landing page and spend it. I remember it cost me $5,000 to learn how to create a landing page back then, and I paid that fee and I learned it, and then I started to apply the knowledge, and then I learned how to do copywriting for sales pages. That was 20 grand, and then I learned how to create a sales page, and that was like 8 grand, and then I learned every single step. I was paying a mentor to teach me faster so that I could implement it quickly. Because if you don't implement something quickly in this universe, you get stagnant. You become this, pool of water that's not moving anymore. And so there's only one way to go after when you're not moving anymore. If you're not going up, there's only one way to go, and that's down. And so your statistics, your bank account, everything will start to go back down. And I knew I had this very small window that I needed to get the traction in the industry that I needed, because it was male dominated for one thing, and nobody knew me, and it was massively full, in that it was highly competitive by like marketing geniuses. These guys were unbelievable. So I knew in order to match them, I was going to have to put in 140% and be all in. And so that's exactly what I was. And as a result of doing that, I literally started to do quantum leaps. I was letting go of that rung and I was free falling, and then the next rung would come in place, and then I would practically let go of it at the same time, with no knowledge of what my next step or rung was. And that's how I made 6 figures in my first 5 months. That's how I went from having a book idea to launching it to writing it to launching it to #1 on Amazon in 58 days, to then getting on the radar of the World Internet Summit. And this is where my game changed. And that's one of the things I want to also talk about, is that moment. Are you ready? And so I made these quantum leaps. I kind of went on pure faith constantly. And what I learned from that was that money loves speed. And then what I knew is, in order for me to be ready and be prepared, I had to get my foundation in place. I had to make sure I had my message, my target market, my websites, my landing page. The landing page was the very first thing I built, and most companies today still do not have a landing page. They're still not driving traffic to it, and I'm going to be talking about a landing page today. It was the very first thing I built and paid for, because that's how important it is to today's new business dynamic. And then from that, I was ready for that Oprah moment. And my Oprah moment came when the World Internet Summit saw me, saw the results I had made in a very short time, and they picked me as New Internet Marketing Success of the Year. And then they flew me, all expenses paid, from California to Singapore to appear on my very first stage as a speaker in front of 3,400 people. Now, if I was not ready for my Oprah moment, that whole opportunity could have been done. But I was. I was ready. I had my site as if I was like the world's greatest speaker, all set up. Because what happened from that moment on is people saw me. They Googled me. They looked at my websites. They saw that I was there. I was ready. I had a product. I had my speaker page set up, and they booked me. And for 5 years, I literally traveled around the world, doing 35 countries on every stage you can possibly imagine with some of the greatest speakers in the world. And that was all from that Oprah moment. And so you have to be in place and be ready for your Oprah moment. And I know we actually have some people on this call ready for their Oprah moment. And so again, those moments will start to come when you recognize them as the opportunities and keep moving forward. And so it was incredible. And so my question to you is, are you ready for your Oprah moment? If somebody discovered you right now, wanted you, fell in love with you, then then turned around and Googled you and went and looked at your websites, would they be as impressed with who you are and who they met and who they see online? Because two people right now, those are the same thing. If you are not as impressive online as you are offline, and vice versa, your Oprah moment is going to go right by you, because it's simply the case. People are checking you out immediately, and you have to be as awesome and fantastic as you are online and offline. And this is what happens at events, especially, is you go out, you maybe meet with a business director, you go to a networking event, you go to a speaking event, and you meet with a booking host, or you start to open up all these amazing opportunities for yourself, and you look awesome. You're dressed to impress, you're looking terrific, you're speaking, everything is going wonderful. And then what happens is they see this when they go and check out your website, and it all collapses. And all of a sudden, when they were like, oh, I'm totally going to book you for speaking, and they check out your site and they're like, oh God, no, we can't. Or they're like, I'm going to refer you to my clients. You're amazing. You're exactly what my clients need. They go to look at your website and they're like, I can't do that. They can't see this site. And when your sites are ineffective and do not match who you are, then what starts to happen is you are pouring money down the toilet. If you have a lost product sale at $1,000, if you have a lost speaking gig at a lost speaking gig that was worth $5,000, if you had, every opportunity that comes to you has a dollar value. Even if you're not getting paid, it has a dollar value. In the future, it's, what you're banking on for the future. And if that collapses the second that they come here, you're literally losing money faster than you will ever be able to make it. And so that's an incredible realization, and many people have had that. You have less than 3 seconds to make an impression. You have like 3 seconds offline, and you have 3 seconds online. And so they're already looking at you, listening to you, and then they're going to stay engaged when they're with you in a live scenario. But when they come here, the thing is going to be next. I don't like this. I'm gone. Next. There's another speaker. There's another facilitator. There's another person with a good book. There's another photographer. There's another everything. And so your websites have to be impeccable, because if your websites aren't working for you, they're working against you. They are absolutely costing you money every single day. And so if you take a look at this, you wouldn't know from this how amazing Penny Wild is. You wouldn't know how, you kind of see it here, but you really don't. See, on the feature side, she's got these guest appearances on TV and everything. But you really wouldn't know, because you're instantly distracted by the fact that you have no idea what she does or what she's doing. and how she can help you. And especially if you met her, you'd be blown away how incredible she is. And then you'd be like, oh, wow, no, it's done. And she deals in corporate. So can you imagine a corporation meeting her at an event? She goes to a CEO space, spends all this time and money, impresses the heck out of people, and then they go and see this and it's over. It's a done, they're gone. And so here's what she looks like now. Now you understand she's a leadership strategist. She teaches you, all of these things within your business on how to accelerate and contribute, whether that's as a staff member in your corporation or whether that's just stepping into your greatness. But you get a different feel when you see her. And if you met her in person and now you saw this, you would be okay. You'd be like, great, okay, good. She's a speaker, she's an author, she's got stuff, she's got testimonials, she's got some media, we're good to go here. And that would be the end of it. Even if they didn't even look any further, they have the impression instantly in that 3 seconds that you're ready for them. And again, in this situation, it was it was like going bankrupt. It didn't have long. And the sad part is the owner of this site, Bernie Griffith, he had 45 years experience as a photographer. But what happens is when you do not step into your greatness, when the time is right, this is where you start to go downhill. And that's why you have to grab it as fast as possible and really continue that upward climb. Because in his case, you see, he was still competing at the photography level, and he was still selling wedding packages. And, they were 3,000, and then they were 2,000, and then someone was undercutting him with a better website at 1,000, and the packages were looking awesome. And then all of his money started to get sucked away by the competition because their websites were way better. So that was one piece of it. The other piece is he didn't step into his greatness. When you have 45 years, 20 years, 15 years even experience under your belt with something, anything, you now need to step into the leadership role and help those people below you. And so this is what we did with Bernie, is we made him a speaker, a coach, and an author. And when he stepped to that role of training others to open their own photography studios successfully, that's where everything changed. And that allowed him to step into his greatness. And again, once we'd done this, he started to make about $8,000 a week, and he closed a major consulting contract for $50,000 with a corporation that never would have looked at him before, because that original site said nothing and didn't make him look as awesome as he truly is. Then when your site is awesome, that's only half of the scenario. And so then comes in the landing page. And this is a landing page that I just created for a client. And his name is Jim Meskimen. And here is an example, a good example of not being ready for your Oprah moment. And here's why. Jim was a semifinalist on America's Got Talent. And so he was on TV in front of 22 million people each night that he appeared. They were doing video blasts on him, profiles on him. Social media was in an absolute frenzy over all these semifinalists. And he didn't capture one of those leads because he did not have a landing page. And so he lost access to probably close to 60 million people. Now, if he'd have pulled in a fraction of those, even if he pulled in 1% of those viewers, can you imagine the power he would have at this moment to be communicating to everybody and to be booking motivational speaking gigs and to be booking more TV? Because prior to this, he's done like 30 movies. He's done absolutely incredible. And the very cool part about Jim, and again under the radar part, is if you remember the TV show Happy Days, his mom is Marion Ross, who played the mom on Happy Days. And so the kind of the lack of knowing about what to do online has no barriers. Only the thing is, if you're not ready for your Oprah moment when it occurs, you have to wait for the next one, and that takes more effort. And so now we're playing catch up here, and we're trying to get back that, that frenzy that naturally occurred. And when you're ready, holy mackerel, can we change it and be in just absolutely leverage amazing moments that you can't predict are coming. And that's why it's important. And so what are you doing with the landing page? You're just getting their name and their email address so you can control the communication. And when you build your own internal list, that gives you the ability to create a community of people that know you, like you, trust you, and buy from you. This is literally, when you hear people making money in their sleep, this is how they're doing it. Is they're sending out an email and they're from their system, and they're making money. So what's the other element of becoming an incredibly successful business owner? And one of the things that I truly believe is important is being a part of a mastermind. And I have, ever since I got into internet marketing and I learned about a mastermind, I've been a member of one, and I pay highly. I pay anywhere from $25,000 upwards to be a member of the masterminds that I am a part of right now. And the reason I do this is because it makes you bigger than you are. And it adds things, especially if you're a solopreneur, you're working at home, you're trying to do it yourself, you're working on small budgets and small scales. It's so important to have this. One, it makes you accountable. It is so much easier to show up sometimes for somebody else than it is for yourself. And when you know every single month you have to have a certain amount of something done, or you got to be showing somebody something, you're gonna bite the bullet. You'll pull 2 all-nighters to kind of be accountable. You'll work 160% sometimes to deliver and show somebody else. The other thing is that, of course, it helps to increase your ability to make money, and then it helps you to move forward. And last but not least is it keeps you raising the bar, constantly up leveling everything. And that's why it keeps you totally accountable. And this is literally one of the greatest keys to success, is having a group of like-minded people around you, helping to encourage you, to help you, to give advice, to attend things you're doing, to help promote you. It just becomes this absolutely incredible environment that keeps you on track and keeps you going forward. And the biggest thing I think it does is it helps you to stay focused. Usually when I get clients, they're doing like 3 or 4 different things. It's like herding a cat. You're trying to get them off one thing and on another, and there's bright shiny object syndrome, and things are attracting their attention constantly. And then there's this that they could be doing, and oh look, somebody else brought out another hot product and I should be maybe buying this, another piece of shelf help that you're going to put on the shelf and not use. And so it's very important to stay focused. And it's very easy to stay focused when you know your why, when you know your mission, when you know your impact, when you have your message clear, and then you have a group that keeps you moving forward exactly on those things, because you're going to declare them. You're going to say, this is what I'm doing, and this is my message, and here's where I'm moving forward, and this is what, and so it keeps you accountable for, and it should be for a whole year, because those are kind of the targets that you want to be working with to constantly be moving forward. And then sometimes, in some cases, it will take that long to really have ideas solidify, especially if you're trying to do the websites yourself. That's going to take definitely probably that long. If you can afford to accelerate them and have them built for you, then you're accelerating your progress, guaranteed. And then last but not least, are you willing to do whatever it takes? Are you willing to let go of that rung and take that leap of faith for your mission and your message and your purpose? Because it's very important that you reach deep and do that. Because those things are so much bigger than yourself. This isn't just about you. You're kind of the the messenger and or the servant in a way of delivering the message or serving your purpose or helping others in whatever way, shape, or form. I just happened to come in with technology. But if technology wasn't my purpose, I sure as heck wouldn't be mucking around with websites and I wouldn't be doing all of this other stuff. But this stuff is what I love to do. It makes me happy. I love to see a vision of somebody put online so that they can launch themselves properly. And you have your vision and what you're great at and what makes you happy and get up in the morning every day. And you have to be willing to take that leap of faith for it. Now, how do you reach millions with your message? We're going to be taking a look at those elements. The first is the internet, and we kind of covered that. The second is a book. The third is speaking, and the fourth is TV and publicity. These are the four things that I combined this year to change my life. And again, these didn't all happen. I want to make that clear. This was the year that I got to, I'll call cash in on it, right? It took me a few years though to get all of these pieces beautifully in place. Now I had I had the internet and I had the book and I had the speaking all at once. But it takes a while to get the traction and momentum, and then I got the TV and the publicity, which absolutely blew everything out of the box. But it takes some time. So understand that that's why it's important to be working at this for a full year and to give yourself that time to really lay the foundations in place that you need. So if you are out there and you're thinking, I want to be an author, and even more, you want to be a best-selling author, that's what happened with me. And I mentioned it earlier, is that I released my book, 31 Days to Millionaire Marketing Miracles. I got the idea, wrote it in 58 days and launched it to #1 on Amazon. Now, I had a very specific vision though, and this is why it's important to know where you're going, because I knew one thing, and that one thing was I ultimately, at some point in my life, wanted Wiley Publishing. I wanted the biggest publisher in the world for business books to want me. And if that's part of your dream and your vision too, that's why it's important to know your big picture. And so I put all the pieces in place. I built that foundation to naturally attract them. And that was the internet, my platform, my followers, me being out there speaking, and then kind of putting all of those together into a message that they got. And then the other thing I did was I kept my book on the top 3% of Amazon for 4 years. And I did this by constantly putting energy to the book. I never sold a copy myself. I never had one in my hand trying to sell it. And so I was constantly doing that. And I did that, and I didn't release the ebook either, even though at that time ebooks were going for anywhere from $47 to $97. They were absolutely outrageously priced, and I could have made 10 times more money by releasing the ebook sooner, which isn't the case right now. And I didn't, because I wanted Wiley. And January of this year was my dream moment. And that's where I got approached by Wiley Publishing, and they wanted my book. It wasn't even, I didn't have to chase them. I didn't have to go in front of them. They found me. It was the absolute dream moment. And then on top of that, once Wiley gave me the contract for the book, I also then was able to get the top New York literary agent that I had always wanted, that wasn't taking clients anymore. And they simply I handed them the contract and I said, how would you like to sign me? And they did. And they negotiated, a better book deal for me than I ever could have. And in this moment, though, when you look at this, I handed actually all my profits away in this moment. But this was one of my stepping stones. And this is one of the things I want to teach you all year long, is there strategies you're going to be putting in place. And it's like, there's some sort of saying where you're like tripping over pennies to get to the dollars or something, or picking up pennies and missing the dollars. But whatever it is I literally don't care about the money at this moment for this deal. Because in most cases, the agent and the publisher are getting it. This was a twofold step for me. One is greater credibility. And so now I'm raising my profile in the entire world, really, because my book is selling worldwide now. But it's also, I have a vision for future books that I want to be highly paid for. And this was part of that strategy. And so now with an agent under my belt, I'm able to negotiate any type of future deal that I want. And then when I released this book this year, just this August, in fact, it went #1 in the US, in Canada, in the UK in the same week. And so that's coming out and making the impact that you want to make. And so it's just absolutely incredible. And the news that I had this morning, brand new, nobody even knows this. I think the only person that knows this is my husband and now you guys, is I then had a call again this morning from another agent offering me another book deal with a franchise that I have dreamed of being a part of. And so now I'll be announcing that at some point shortly, the who it is and what it is. But again, and I didn't chase it. They phoned me. I mean, that is the moment you wait for. That is another Oprah moment that I have prepared for and is now going to take me into my 2014 in an absolutely off the hook manner, which is why I want you guys as part of this journey. I want to be showing you everything I'm doing as we move along. And it has over 140 Amazon testimonials. Here are other books that I'm a part of as well. And so when you have a chance or opportunity to be a part of contributor books, invest in it. And contributor books are one of the greatest things you can do. And I go in them all the time. And here's the reason why. Not only can you become a bestseller easily, I just became a bestseller again yesterday with another book that released that I'm in. Not only can you become a bestseller, and then you can use that for every single thing that you say, but books are never thrown out. So as you and the other contributors are handing out these books, you're getting spread all over the world in a way that you couldn't do. And especially because the power of a book is a book. You know, people still love them and they don't throw them out and they gift them and pass them on. And so here's other books that I'm a part of. And just so you know, and again, I'm doing a contributor book this year. I already have many people that are a part of that book with me. In fact, many of them, I can see a few of you already on the line tonight that are a part of this book with me. And so we're going to have an amazing time going through, because every book I've ever launched has been a bestseller. And I don't guarantee that because I can't predict a certain day, but I can say that every book I've launched has become a bestseller. And so that's part of what I'm doing with a group of people as well. And again, there's actually 7 places still open for that if anyone's, or maybe it was 5 places open for that. It's 5 if anyone's interested in that. And you can just talk to me later about that. And again, and then I assist clients to get published. And here's the amazing, fantastic Frank Johnson, From Flawed to Fantastic. Beautiful, beautiful book that needed to get out. And so you just, make sure that these things get out there. The other element of reaching millions was my speaking. Again, you heard the dream way that I got into speaking, right? I could not have written it that way. I just couldn't. It was way beyond any scope I could have predicted. My goal was to get on the World Internet Summit stage in a year. I not only got on that stage in 6 months, but they paid me to be there. And so I couldn't have predicted that. And again, that's why it's important just launching out your vision. And then, of course, that changed my whole life. It changed our freedom. It gave me the freedom with my family to never pay for a vacation again. We have been all over the world in some of the most breathtaking places on earth, and it's not cost anything. And so that's, again, some of the beautiful part is not only are you making your impact, you're getting it paid for you, and you're meeting incredibly influential and fun people that are helping to continue to raise your own personal profile. And then there's TV. Okay, TV is like the game changer. I have two messages when I go on TV. The first message is you can work from the home, you can have it all, you can raise a family and make the money you want. And the other one I have right now is about social media safety for kids. Simply because 43% of kids have been you know exposed to cyberbullying and cyber stalking. Over 1 million kids were affected on Facebook alone, and only 7% of parents are concerned or aware. And that's because of the technology gap. Most people over 45 who have kids have no idea what their kids are doing online. They're at the forefront, and they've gone rogue, and it's like the Wild West up there. And so I need to educate parents and get them up to speed. And I use all of these technologies from the underbelly of my book, which means I'm constantly raising my own profile at the same time as I'm on TV, because my messages stem from the root of my master book. And then I don't think you can hear this, but it just gives you a feel for all the different things that I've done online now on TV. I've done like 22 TV speaking engagements, and it's incredible because you get exposed to millions of people. This is a very, very big game that you can play. And the thing is, though, you need to have your foundation in place before you jump into this game. Or, like Jim Meskimen, you're going to miss your Oprah moment. And when people want to go find out about you, they're either not going to like what they see, or you aren't even there. Like Jim wasn't even there. And so you're not going to be found, and you're going to miss the moment. So this is why I'm showing you this in a progressive nature of order. And when I take someone through the journey of the mastermind over the next year, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be taking you through that journey in the steps and in the order you need to take it in. And then mastering social media. So you need to get onto YouTube for sure, and start creating your own little kind of TV channel. And why? Because Google owns it, number 2 search engine in the world. People are bypassing Google practically and searching for the answers online, and they're finding it through through YouTube, because people like visuals, and that's why TV is still such a medium. People like to see it. And the other one I'll briefly mention on this screen also is Google Plus. You need to secure your brand on all of these and on Google Plus, because Google Plus is the only one that indexes, which means if I post something in Facebook, it stays in Facebook. If I post the same thing in Google Plus, it goes out to Google and it's indexed, which means if I'm talking about an event, or I'm talking about an issue or an incident or a TV appearance, it's appearing indexed in the search engines when I put it in Google Plus, which is why it's important to start to join that community too. And then we'll go through the other 3, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, because these are the grand masters right now, and they're really, really important. And these are the ones, social media isn't going away. It absolutely means business. You can see there's a magazine on Twitter, there's a magazine on Facebook, there's a magazine on Google. There's reasons that these magazines exist, and there's some on LinkedIn as well. So what do I do in Twitter? I use this as a driving machine to my landing page. And what I mean by that is, when you put the search terms on your page of who you are and what you want and what type of people you want to attract, that is the attraction model for people to come and follow you. And I couldn't ever just go and find all these followers myself. Twitter has created a community that allows me to grab them and feed them to my landing page. And that's the other thing that I do. I'm constantly driving people to my landing page, and that's what you should be using Twitter for as well. Offering a gift, offering a webinar, offering a teleseminar, offering to come and listen to your Blog Talk Radio show. Constantly move them over. And when you move them over to all of those things, make sure you're capturing their name first. So when you say, come listen to my Blog Talk Radio show, come listen to my webinar, my teleseminar, put them through a funnel. Put them through your landing page, grab their name and their email address, and then they're there. Don't just send them directly to what you want, okay? Or to what the end result is. You need to make sure you're feeding your funnel. The other thing that's cool about Twitter is there's no barriers, there's no gates. You can talk to Oprah, you can talk to Richard Branson, you can talk to George Clooney, you can Twitter anybody that's on there. And I'm not saying they're going to answer. Other people could be monitoring their accounts, but I know people that have hit every single one of those and gotten a reply and gotten meetings, events, appearances, the works. So there is no gate there. And if you're persistent and persuasive enough, you may get what you want by hitting them directly on social media. Facebook. Facebook is one of my favorite places for community building. So I communicate constantly throughout the day on Facebook. I'm looking for my target market on Facebook. I'm looking for communities. And most importantly, though, the very first thing I do every day is I go into my private client site and check it. See if anyone has questions, see what's going on up there, see if anyone needs help, and tell everybody what's going on. If something new happened today, I'm telling about it. Okay. So create a private community for your clients. And then LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the highest earning social media out there, which means that people are professional and they have money. So if your target is in LinkedIn, you better be working LinkedIn like crazy. I work LinkedIn. I love it. I have over 11,450 followers on LinkedIn. I get speaking gigs on here. I get contracts and deals like crazy on LinkedIn. And so if you are reaching a professional, if you need chiropractors, dentists, there's communities here and they're there and you can tap into them and offer your services. And so it's just important to be there. And then last but not least comes, how do you launch all of this? How do you launch your vision and your mission? So the key is to create your bigger game online so you can live up to your true potential. So you're going to create this vision throughout the next year, and then you're going to constantly move forward and live it. You're going to live as if you're already in that moment. You're already a speaker. You're already an author. You're already on the media. All of these things, you're going to be constantly living with this vision in your head, and then you'll start to attract those elements. So we're going to create a cohesive solution to catapult your business or your book, whichever you are, in order to reach and influence millions. And one of the things I love is listening to somebody like Napoleon Hill, who of course talks about the fact that if you create a plan, and as soon as you do, you need to go into action and put that plan into action at once. Do not hesitate. This is kind of him talking about the fact that one, you need a plan, and two, you better move quick once you do it. There is no room for sitting back and wondering, how are you going to make this whole plan work? Because you can't. I couldn't predict some of those pieces that occurred to me until I was 5 steps further ahead. And that's going to be the same situation for you. You can't be standing where you are and get a different picture than where you are right now. And so what I would like this evening is to invite you to join me in the ultimate transformation. And it's 1 full year of us being together. It's live monthly Q&A mastermind calls. And so how this is working is we've built a community. I've put a pre-lesson in there before each call that you will do. And then we're going to get on the call and I'm going to teach you a little bit about the lesson for that month. And then we're going to talk about it, go over it, and do what needs to be done. So you're moving forward with that new skill set that you have. Now we're starting November 27th. The first class is creating the message. And I want to remind you that if you can't make a class, it's okay because they're recorded. You can send and ask questions in advance or after. And the other cool part is you're going to have lifetime access to this whole thing. So everything, because maybe you don't finish all of the steps in a year, it's okay. You're just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And I highly believe in that. Once you have purchased something from me, you get lifetime access to it. I don't leave you after a year and say, get out now. I'm sorry you couldn't fit it in. That's too bad for you. I keep you in for life, and you're continually able to access that information, because I think that's you made an investment in it, and I believe that's yours for life. And the other thing that is so important about becoming a part of a mastermind is you can't read the label from inside the jar. And this is why it's really hard for solopreneurs to move forward at the rate they often need to, because they have nobody to bounce ideas off of. They have nobody to ask. And so you get kind of in this cone that doesn't provide you with the ability to get what you need. And so here is a look at the journey. The first thing we'll do is create the message, take a look at being brand you, the online strategy. Then we're going to take month 4 as social media mastery. We're going to talk about outsourcing. We're going to talk about a book or a product launch. Going to be taking a look at you being a speaker or speaking in general, getting on TV, leveraging your book or product, selling. We're going to take a look at putting on your own live event and what that entails, and then publicity and PR. So this is the exact model that I followed this past year. These are the skills that I have been putting in myself for the last 7. So now what I've done is I've culminated everything into these chunks that you can digest each month, so that you can understand and realize and move yourself forward within our community support. So again, the first month, November 27th, we're going to talk about creating your message. When you know what your message is, that's where you're going to be able to hit your bullseye. The next month is going to be about being brand you. In order for you to carry out your mission and your message, there's only one person on this planet that can do it, and that's you. And that's why you're going to have to step into being brand you, and not hiding behind something or being shy. You have to get out of your own way now, and that's a part of playing a bigger game. I had to get out of my own way. Let me tell you, just because I'm talking about this now does not mean I didn't encounter all of the stuff you guys go through. I went through the same stuff. I'm just at a different place now, and able to reflect back and help you guys move forward. The next one, month number 3, we're going to be going over the entire online strategy and the pieces you need to have place and where your focus needs to be. We'll be taking a look at any elements that you have. Then social media mastery, making sure that your brand is being carried forward and where you should be spending your time. We're going to be talking about outsourcing. At this point, you may be in a position now to get things off your plate. I'm going to help you determine who you should do that with, and what types of things that you can get off your plate. Because some people are handing off too important things that they shouldn't be, and still holding on to some of the stuff that's not making them money. And so we'll go over that. Again, I've had outsourcing and I've had staff for 20 years. For 30 years. And so I know exactly kind of, as you move through your business, what are the best pieces to offload so that you can focus on what you need to. Then we're going to be taking a look whether it's a book launch or a product launch, what's involved, what's entailed, and getting you the kind of the check sheet and the formula for doing all of these. Then if you want to be a speaker, or even if you don't, if your idea of standing in front of a bunch of people is not of interest, the bottom line is you still have to know how to speak, because you're going to be in front of somebody, somewhere, getting your message out there. And so we're going to be going over the elements and how to properly present what you do in a way that people reach for it. It's not a sell, it's more like an invite, okay? And I'm going to be teaching you in that section how to do that. I'm going to be teaching you how do you get on TV, okay? What's the formula for that? What are the pieces that you need? What is it really going to take? And what foundation should you have in place before you even do that? Because I've seen so many people rushing to get on TV, which is really cool, but then they have no foundation in place to leverage the leads that they're getting. And so the whole thing collapses from that point on. You have this great reel, or this great celebrity reel per se, which is very helpful and awesome to use, but you're not really taking the time to do what you need to in order to optimize the elements of being on TV. Then I'm going to show you how to leverage whatever it is that you start with. If you started with a book, if you started with a speech, if you started with a DVD, if you started with a workshop, wherever you are best, or if you started as a coach, wherever your knowledge is sitting right now, you're going to have to lay that knowledge down somewhere first. And let's say you choose coaching, and I often persuade people to choose coaching first or something in that realm. And as we go through the training and the mastermind, I'll be explaining all of the details why there is a certain order that these should come in as well. And we'll be going through that. And so how do you leverage all of this? This is how you make $1 million empire right here. I took one core piece of information from my book, and that was the contents in my book. We're talking 300 pages of information, and I made an empire out of it by putting it through every single one of these bubbles. And then, of course, everything that I do after that is a whole nother kind of revenue stream and a whole nother avenue. Then we're going to talk about selling. So many people back off from this and they stick in their create mode. And then what happens is they aren't selling anything and they don't have the money they need to grow and prosper. So I'm going to be getting some selling strategies in place for you so that you keep in mind that every single month you're going to need to be making money, and you're going to need to establish days that you focus on that, or you write an email, or you do some sort of outflow, or you make a phone call. And so we're going to be talking about that, because now you'll have all of the elements in place to sell. And then I'm going to talk about your own live event. I've just did one on Monday, and 3 Keys to a Blockbuster Business. And I've got one coming up Feb 6th, 7th, and 8th, Business Online Mastery. I've done tons and tons and tons of my own events. And so I'm going to be going through the intricacies and the elements involved in doing that, so that you can put on your own live event. Even if you think that's the most outrageous thing I've ever said tonight, this is a gold mine, and I don't want anyone skipping or shying away from it. And last but not least, publicity and PR. How do you leverage everything that you've done and now start to get more tapping into more mojo from it? And how do you get the attention of Google and therefore the attention of your target audience? And then to make sure that you spend the next year in a very successful environment, lifetime access to all of the training that we're going to be going through. I'm going to also make sure that we start at a business card level. So your new business card, I'm going to be giving you the template and getting you the QR code as we go through, so that the piece that you hit somebody with immediately when you're facing them in a live situation is the piece that carries through your brand all the way across, so that now when they check you out, everything about you is incredibly impressive. And then the big part of this is you're going to have lifetime access to a community, my private client community, which means you're going to be among some of the most amazing people, successful people that are part of the new messengers and the new change agents in this world. And they're going to be helping you to reach your next level. You won't be able to hear this, but I'll tell you what though. Oops. Fantastic Frank Johnson, maybe if I can get on this at all. You know what? I'm going to finish this and I'm going to go back. I'm going to see if Frank's on the line or if somebody's on the line to let you just get a feel. After I'll let you know what it's costing, because people might be out there going, for God's sakes, will you please tell me what this is going to cost? And I tell you, it's not going to be that price, even though I have historically charged that for a year-long mastermind. In fact, I've charged $18,000 for a year-long mastermind. But because I have had the most off the hook year of my life. I am making sure that anybody who is going to reach for this can afford to have it. And maybe it's even a stretch for you, what I'm about to talk about. But I can guarantee you that it will be the greatest money that you've ever spent, because you're going to spend a year with me. You're going to get the knowledge that I've already accumulated and have laid out for you. And you're going to also get all the new knowledge. I spend money like crazy on myself. I invest in myself every single week, at least. I'm buying something, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about what I buy, and posting it and saying, hey, I just found this, or I'm doing this, or this is what I'm doing, or wow, I just found this out. I'm the one that's going to be feeding you, so you don't have to continue to constantly do that. So you're going to spend a year with me in a lifetime community and have a lifetime access. It's $997. And again, this price won't be repeated. We start November 27th. And I mean, literally, that's like the price of going out to dinner a month type of thing. That's why I think I've made it unbelievably affordable. And for those that take fast action, you're also going to get 2 tickets to my live event. I mentioned that it's Feb 6th, 7th, and 8th. I want you to put those on your calendar anyway, even if you're not participating in the mastermind. Pay for the event, come to the event, because that's going to be incredible as well. I'm really going to be spending 3 days of full training with me. We're going to be going through all of the elements of being online, and it's going to be intense, life-changing, empowering results. So make sure you circle those dates. And for sure, for those of you who are going to be joining me on this year-long journey, make sure you definitely have those dates all booked and loaded and on your calendar. And again, for anybody who pays in full this evening, I'm going to ship a copy of my book to you. It's not going to come directly from me. I don't stock books, but I'm going to go to Amazon and I'm going to pay it and I'm going to get it shipped to you. And that's for anybody who pays in full, because I'm going to give you 2 options again. So it's $9.95. And if you go to messagetomillionsmastermind.com, that's the website. You're going to see the button there. And all of these things are going to be coming to you. And again, you're going to be mentored every month by me. I'm going to take you step by step to how I hit 20 million people. I grew my company, exploded my income. I got picked up by a top New York literary agent. I got signed by the top publisher in North America for business books. I became an international best-selling author. I've traveled the world speaking on stages with my family. I've appeared on over 22 national and local segments about me in my book, and that has been worth hundreds of thousands in airtime for free. I've achieved my goals this year that I've been striving for all my life, and I'm going to reveal all those steps to you. And then I'm going to give you lifetime access to work them. And literally, it is my gift to you for the fantastic year and the support that I have had from those who have helped me along the way. And so I'm just going to go out for 1 second. I'm going to link out of this so I can talk to people, answer questions, and show you the page. Here's the Message to Millions Mastermind. Here's what it looks like. It's got the thing right there, tells you the price. These are the things we're going to be going through. You're going to learn to craft your message, define the elements that make your brand, identify the pieces you need and how it all works together. You're going to know what to do, when to do it, and what to say where. You're going to get all the stuff you hate off your plate. I've trademarked that. That's for outsourcing. You're going to launch your site, service, coaching, product, book, or you. You're going to make money from the stage, keynoting, the phone, or one-on-one, leveraging mass media to make an impact, market funnel and creation of a cash flow from every angle, best traffic methods for your business, products, and services, how to make as much in a weekend as you do in a year, and how to be seen everywhere and cash in on your mojo. 12 months, it's less than $85 a month to join me. Again, there is not 21 spots. I think there's like 17 spots left. I didn't update this today. And you simply click on this, and I believe there is a to-pay as well. I'll click on this. I don't know if the to-pay exists on this page. If you need other arrangements, please call the office. And the number for that is 818-859-7210. If you need to talk to us about something, because I want to make sure that this is not anything that you can't take advantage of, because I want you to move forward. And then a really cool thing, and here's what it looks like. And even those that are already part of the mastermind team have not seen this. It's very exciting. We just completed it. This is your back end. And so you're going to come in, you're going to register every month. You're going to click on the topics that we're taking up. You're going to have access to all of the materials you need before. You're going to have access to the webinar registration and later the webinar replay. And then remember, you have lifetime access to this community and to their marketing resources. I'm going to be putting online resources. I'm going to be putting bonuses in here. This is going to be one really, really fun year. So again, message2millionsmastermind.com. For those of you who are already in it or joining us, all of those details are going to start to come to you soon for the access to that community. So let me take a look here. Yes, you know what? I'm going to Frank or Michelle, if either of you are able to talk right now, if you can just click, just type in, yes, I'm okay. I'll actually unmute your mic. Oh, Frank's good? Okay, I'm going out to you, Frank. I'm going to come out. And, Frank is what I call, Frank is one of my VIP Platinum members, which means he had me build everything for him. And that is an option available to you as well if you want to talk to me about it. And so I'm going to unmute Frank, and he can kind of talk about the journey and what it's like working with me. All right, Frank, are you there? So I've unmuted Frank, so hopefully he can unmute himself and work on that. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to have Frank work on that for 2 seconds. And I'm going to see if Michelle's on the phone. I noticed Michelle out here, another friendly. Oh, are you okay, Michelle? I'm with Michelle. Are you there, Michelle? I can hear your little dude. Okay, so I know Michelle has her amazing son with her, and that's good. That's what this is about, right? The ability to do that. Okay, so I will, let's see, I'm just going to check the questions now, come to that. Let me see here, and if anyone has any questions. Thank you to Christine, who said my children were beautiful. Okay. Let's see. We're going to be going through product creation and product pricing. Honestly, there's not going to be much we aren't going to cover. Way to go, Ron. I see he got the, because I get to come out and see these now. I don't get to see them. Oh, I know, that was a shame, wasn't it, Christine? She says, what a shame for Jim. And that's what I don't want with you guys. I don't want this unbelievable thing that you never saw coming happen. Yes, and so there it is. Okay, yeah, there's Ronald again. Thank you so much for the kind words. He says, working with people with better and bigger visions is key to success. One reason why I reached for Tracy to comment on my book. Yes, and I should get that in that little thing, shouldn't I? Thank you for that reminder. Thank you, Christine. Congratulations. And yes, Frank is a mastermind member. Frank is all in. Frank is a mastermind member. He is a contributor for the book, and he got the entire VIP Platinum package where I built everything for him. And I'm gonna unmute Frank again and see if he's there. And if he can talk, great. If he can't, he's unmuted and it's not hurting anything. While I continue to go through these questions. So you're unmuted, Frank, if your audio for some reason happens to be able to work. Yeah, that's right, Chef Tell in your message, and I'm going to incorporate that, Ron, into my list there. Yep. And so you are going to you're gonna meet Frank. Those of you who are joining us, and he is an integral part of the group. And yes, blessed to have a number of people to be joining us for sure. And what do we got? No matter the obstacles, you can always make your dreams come true with decision, plan, and hard work. Very good, Ron. Some more feedback from everybody. Yeah, my message is don't let your disability prevent you from being all that you can be. That's coming from Frank. And so there's a message, and that's the message he's going to continue to get out. And I love it. And I wish we could hear from Frank. And and the reason is he was in an injury about 30 years ago. He was trapped in a fire, pulled out in a body bag, and now he's motivated to inspire millions. And as a result, he has a traumatic brain injury. And so when you're able to go through what Frank did and still turn around and tell other people that to overcome your fears and take that next step, it's incredible. He is inspirational beyond belief. And let's see if there's help for creating packages and pricing. Yes, we will totally be doing that in our mastermind. What else we got? You're welcome, Christine. I know you're here, Frank. The problem is I've got your audio open, and unfortunately, there's no noise coming out. And so that's too bad. What was almost 5,000 to pay? This whole program is only $997 for the whole year. That may have been a value that I'd put on something, Christine, that you saw. It's only $997. Period. End of story type of thing. Let's see. I'm on the computer, but not on the phone. Yeah, you don't need to be on the phone. In fact, it almost needs to be. Oh, and Michelle had no microphone. Okay, cool. So let's see. Okay, hear your sound, but okay. There is no call in, I don't think, Frank, because this is a webinar, not a kind of a teleseminar. But anyway, so that's it, guys. I had no additional comments or questions. I think it's pretty clear. You're going to spend a year with me, and I think you guys get that. And you're going to be a part of a community, and you're going to get access to all this information. And then I'm going to be telling you where you are along the way. Like I'll say to you, hey, you should be doing this right now, Christine, because of this. This is where you are. And so I'll be pushing individual people with your own individual messages as we go through it so that you know what to focus on for exactly where you are. Like Frank's at a different position because he's got this whole foundation built now, and other people are going to be coming in on different levels. And that's okay because I have experienced every level. And I'm going to be able to guide and help you. And then those that are further along, they're going to be able to tell you about their experiences and how they got over stuff as well. And that's the beautiful part of it, not just being about me. I'm the one training you, but really it's about you and your peers as well. So it's going to be an incredibly exciting year. I am totally when we put together the site and launched this last little piece this morning, I was over the moon. It was done. It was set. Together, we're going to spend the next year and make it one of the greatest years of your life. And so that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on the call. It's been an absolute blast. Feel free to call the office if you have any questions. Go to Message to Millions Mastermind and sign up. If you're having any problems at all, it's 818-859-7210, and we'll be glad to help you through them. I'm blessed that you joined me today, or if you're listening on the replay. I'm very grateful of your time, and I look forward to being a part of your journey. And I'm honored for those of you who choose me to do that and to work with me for the next year. So have a fantastic rest of your day, evening, rest of your week. And I look forward to helping make your next year your greatest year ever. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll send out the replay too for you guys if you wish to watch this again. Bye for now.